Sharks, apex predators of the ocean, can sense a drop of blood from miles away and reach speeds up to 35 miles per hour. Known for their razor-sharp teeth and powerful jaws, these creatures are responsible for numerous attacks on humans each year. Great white sharks, in particular, are infamous for their aggressive behavior and can grow over 20 feet long. But they aren't the only danger in the sea. What happens when a seemingly innocent day at the beach turns into a fight for survival? In the summer of 2015, social media influencer Jessica Rae decided to spend a sunny day at Bondi Beach, one of Australia's most famous shorelines. The date was July 18th, and the weather was perfect for a beach outing. The sun was shining brightly, the sky was clear, and the waves gently lapping at the shore. Bondi Beach was buzzing with activity, filled with families, surfers, and tourists, all enjoying the beautiful day. Jessica, known for her travel and lifestyle posts, saw this as the perfect opportunity to capture some stunning photos for her followers. With over 1 million followers on Instagram, she was always on the lookout for the next great shot. Today, she wore a bright red swimsuit that contrasted beautifully with the turquoise water. Her goal was to take a selfie with the vast ocean as her backdrop. She spent the morning walking along the beach, taking photos of the sand, the surf, and the bustling life around her. By midday, she decided to venture into the water for a few shots. Lifeguards monitored the beach, and there were no signs of danger. Feeling confident, Jessica waded into the shallow waters, her phone held high, ready to snap the perfect picture. Australia's waters are home to a variety of marine life, including the formidable tiger shark. Tiger sharks are known for their striped pattern and are among the largest predatory sharks, reaching lengths of up to 16 feet. They are curious creatures, often investigating potential prey with their powerful jaws. While attacks on humans are rare, they can be aggressive if provoked or curious. As Jessica posed in the water, she ventured a bit deeper, wanting to get just the right angle. She was focused on her phone, adjusting her position to get the best lighting and background. Unbeknownst to her, a tiger shark had been swimming nearby, attracted by the activity and splashing in the water. Just as Jessica clicked the shutter for her selfie, the shark lunged. She felt a sudden, powerful force hit her from behind, knocking her off her feet. Her phone flew from her hand and disappeared into the water. Confused and terrified, she struggled to regain her footing, the water churning around her. She looked back to see the massive shark with its dark eyes and a gaping mouth filled with rows of sharp teeth. Panic set in as she realized the danger she was in. She tried to swim towards the shore, but the shark was relentless. It circled her, its movements swift and menacing. The beach, once a scene of relaxation and fun, now felt like a distant, unreachable haven. The shark struck again, this time clamping down on Jessica's leg. The pain was immediate and intense, a searing sensation that radiated through her body. She screamed, kicking and thrashing, desperate to free herself from the predator's grip. The water around her turned red with blood, starkly contrasting to the clear blue sea. Her fight-or-flight instincts kicked in, and Jessica clawed at the water, using every ounce of strength to pull herself free. The shark's teeth tore at her flesh, but her frantic movements confused it momentarily. She managed to break away, her leg bleeding profusely. Adrenaline coursed through her veins as she swam towards the shore. Each stroke was a battle against pain and exhaustion. The beach seemed impossibly far, and her vision blurred with tears and fear. She could hear the distant shouts of people on the beach, but the sound felt muffled, as if she were in a nightmare. The tiger shark, still curious and aggressive, followed her, circling and occasionally darting closer. Jessica's mind raced with thoughts of survival. She knew she couldn't outswim the shark, but she could try to reach the shallower waters where it might be less inclined to follow. Finally, her feet touched the sandy bottom. She half swam, half crawled towards the shore, her injured leg dragging behind her. The sight of the lifeguards rushing towards her brought a glimmer of hope. She collapsed onto the sand, gasping for breath, her body trembling with shock. The lifeguards acted quickly, pulling her away from the water and assessing her injuries. Her leg was badly torn and she was losing a lot of blood. They applied a tourniquet to slow the bleeding and called for an ambulance. The crowd that had gathered watched in stunned silence, the joy of the beach day shattered by the brutal reality of the attack. Jessica was rushed to the hospital, her mind reeling from the trauma. The medical team worked to stabilize her, treating her wounds and monitoring her for signs of shock and infection. The bite had damaged muscles and nerves, but she was alive, a fact she clung to as she lay in the hospital bed. News of the attack spread quickly, with media outlets and social media buzzing about the influencer who a shark had attacked. Jessica's followers flooded her accounts with messages of support and concern. The beach was temporarily closed, and authorities increased patrols to monitor shark activity. In the weeks that followed, Jessica underwent multiple surgeries to repair the damage to her leg. Emotional scars matched the physical pain as she grappled with fear and the memory of the attack. She found strength in the support of her family, friends, and followers, slowly rebuilding her confidence. Despite the trauma, Jessica was determined not to let the attack define her. She began sharing her recovery journey on social media, using her platform to raise awareness about ocean safety and the importance of respecting marine life. Her story became a powerful reminder of the unpredictable nature of the sea and the resilience of the human spirit. In the summer of 2010, Ben Wallace, an avid kayaker and nature enthusiast, decided to explore the remote fjords of Norway. The date was June 5th, and the weather was perfect for an adventure. The sky was clear, and the air was crisp and cool. The fjords, with their towering cliffs and serene waters, offered a breathtaking landscape. Ben had always dreamed of paddling through these majestic waters, and now he had the chance. Ben, a 28-year-old from Seattle, had been kayaking for years. He loved the sense of freedom and connection to nature that it gave him. This trip to Norway was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and he planned to document every moment with his camera. He packed his kayak with all the essentials: a waterproof camera, safety gear, and enough food and water for a few days. That morning, Ben set off from a small village near the mouth of the fjord. The locals had warned him about the unpredictability of the waters and the wildlife, but Ben felt confident in his skills. As he paddled through the calm waters, he marveled at the beauty around him. The cliffs rose steeply from the water, their surfaces dotted with greenery and the occasional waterfall cascading down into the fjord. Norway's fjords are home to diverse wildlife, including the majestic orca, also known as the killer whale. Orcas are highly intelligent and social animals known for their complex behaviors and strong family bonds. They are apex predators, capable of taking down large prey with their powerful jaws and coordinated hunting techniques. Despite their name, orcas rarely pose a threat to humans. However, like all wild animals, they can be unpredictable. As Ben paddled deeper into the fjord, he noticed a disturbance in the water ahead. He slowed his pace, his heart racing with excitement. A pod of orcas surfaced, their sleek black and white bodies gliding through the water. Ben watched in awe as the orcas breached and slapped their tails, seemingly playing in the fjord. He couldn't believe his luck. Encountering a pod of orcas in their natural habitat was a rare and magical experience. Unable to resist, Ben paddled closer to get a better look. He maintained a respectful distance, knowing the importance of not disturbing the wildlife. He reached for his camera and began snapping photos, capturing the orca's graceful movements. As he observed them, he noticed a smaller orca swimming close to a much larger one. It was a mother and her calf, and they were keeping a close eye on their surroundings. Suddenly, the mother orca turned her attention towards Ben. Her behavior changed from playful to protective. She perceived Ben and his kayak as a potential threat to her calf. Ben realized too late that he had ventured too close. The mother orca began to approach him, her movements deliberate and powerful. The mother orca charged at Ben's kayak, ramming it with incredible force. The impact knocked Ben off balance, and he struggled to stay upright. The orca rammed the kayak again, this time causing it to overturn. Ben was thrown into the icy water, the cold shock taking his breath away. He surfaced, gasping for air, his heart pounding with fear. The water was freezing, and Ben's clothes quickly became soaked. He tried to right his kayak, but the mother orca was relentless. She rammed it again, sending it further away. Ben was now floating in the open water, vulnerable and exposed. He looked around desperately, searching for a way to escape. The orca circled him, her dark eyes watching his every move. Ben knew he had to get out of the water. Hypothermia would set in quickly, and the orca could strike at any moment. He spotted a nearby rock formation jutting out of the water. It was his only chance. Mustering all his strength, Ben began to swim towards the rocks. The cold water made every movement difficult, but adrenaline kept him going. The orca continued to circle, her presence a constant threat. Ben reached the rocks and pulled himself up, his hands numb and trembling. He climbed as high as he could, collapsing onto the rough surface, exhausted and shivering. From his vantage point, Ben could see the orca below, still patrolling the waters. She was making sure he stayed away from her calf. Ben's kayak floated nearby, too far to reach. He realized he was stranded on the rocks with no way to call for help. His phone was in the kayak, along with his food and water. Hours passed and the sun began to set. The temperature dropped and Ben's situation grew more dire. He huddled on the rocks, trying to stay warm, his thoughts racing. He knew he couldn't survive the night out in the open. He had to find a way to signal for help. As darkness fell, Ben spotted a light in the distance. It was a fishing boat making its way through the fjord. Summoning his remaining strength, Ben stood up and waved his arms, shouting for help. The boat seemed to slow, and then it changed course, heading towards him. Relief washed over Ben as the boat approached. The fishermen on board saw him and quickly brought him aboard. They wrapped him in blankets and gave him warm drinks, helping him regain his strength. Ben explained what had happened, his voice trembling with exhaustion and gratitude. The fishermen took Ben back to the village, where he received medical attention. He was treated for hypothermia and minor injuries, but he was alive. The villagers, hearing his story, marveled at his survival. The fjords were beautiful but dangerous, a lesson Ben had learned the hard way. In the days that followed, Ben reflected on his experience. The encounter with the orca had been terrifying, but it had also deepened his respect for nature. He understood now the importance of keeping a safe distance from wildlife, and he shared his story to raise awareness about respecting animals in their natural habitats. In the summer of 2008, veteran fisherman Mike Johnson set out to participate in a deep-sea fishing tournament off the coast of Florida. The event, held annually in Key West, attracted fishermen from all over the world. It was a bright, sunny day on June 15th, perfect for the competition. The waters were calm, and the excitement was palpable among the participants. Mike, a seasoned fisherman with over 20 years of experience, was eager to test his skills against the best. Mike had always loved the ocean. From a young age, he spent countless hours on the water, learning the intricacies of fishing from his father. Now, at 45, he was one of the most respected fishermen in the community. His boat, Sea Legend, was well equipped for the challenges of deep-sea fishing. And Mike had a reputation for catching some of the largest fish in the area. The tournament was a big deal for Mike. He had been preparing for weeks, checking his gear and mapping out the best fishing spots. He hoped to catch a massive swordfish known for their incredible size and power. Swordfish can grow up to 14 feet long and weigh over 1,000 pounds. They are fierce fighters, capable of leaping out of the water and using their sharp bills as weapons. Mike knew the risks, but the thrill of the chase was worth it. That morning, Mike and his crew, consisting of his longtime friends and fellow fishermen Jack Thompson and Paul Lewis, set out early. They were in high spirits, joking and sharing stories as they sailed to their chosen spot. The sea was a deep blue, and the horizon stretched endlessly before them. It was a perfect day for fishing. They anchored the boat and set up their lines, baiting them with large pieces of mackerel. The waiting began. Hours passed with no sign of activity. The sun climbed higher and the heat became intense. Mike and his crew remained patient, knowing that deep-sea fishing required perseverance. They chatted to pass the time, discussing their strategies and the potential for a big catch. In the early afternoon, Mike felt a strong tug on his line. His heart raced as he grabbed the rod, feeling the powerful pull of a large fish. He knew instantly that this was the moment he had been waiting for. He began to reel in the line, the rod bending under the strain. The fish fought back, diving deep and pulling hard. Mike's muscles strained as he worked to bring it closer to the boat. The battle continued for what felt like an eternity. The fish made several powerful runs, each time taking more lines. Mike's crew watched in awe, cheering him on. He could see the outline of the fish beneath the surface, a massive swordfish thrashing in the water. It was an incredible sight, and Mike's determination grew stronger. He was close to landing the fish of a lifetime. As Mike reeled the swordfish closer, it made a sudden, unexpected leap out of the water. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The swordfish, with its sharp bill glinting in the sunlight, lunged towards the boat. In an instant, it struck Mike with its bill, hitting him in the chest and throwing him overboard. The impact was shocking and left Mike gasping for breath as he plunged into the cold water. Disoriented and in pain, Mike struggled to stay afloat. He could feel the water filling his lungs as he tried to catch his breath. The swordfish, enraged and confused, circled nearby, its movements swift and aggressive. Mike knew he had to act quickly. He kicked his legs, fought the pain, and tried to swim towards the boat. Jack and Paul, seeing the attack, scrambled to help. They threw a life ring into the water and shouted instructions, their voices filled with urgency. Mike reached for the life ring, his strength fading. He grabbed hold of it, the rough surface digging into his hands. He could feel the blood seeping from his chest wound mixing with the salt water. The swordfish made another pass, its sharp bill slicing through the water with deadly precision. Mike ducked under the surface, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. The cold water stung his eyes, and he could feel the weight of his clothes dragging him down. He resurfaced, gasping for air, and held onto the life ring with all his might. Jack and Paul pulled on the rope, hauling Mike towards the boat. The swordfish circled again, its presence a constant threat. Mike felt a surge of fear and adrenaline. He knew he couldn't give up now. With every ounce of strength he had left, he kicked and pulled, helping his friends bring him to safety. Finally, he reached the side of the boat. Jack and Paul grabbed his arms and pulled him aboard, their faces pale with worry. Mike collapsed on the deck, breathing heavily. His chest wound was bleeding heavily and he felt lightheaded. Jack applied pressure to the wound while Paul radioed for help, their hands shaking. The rescue boat arrived quickly and paramedics rushed to stabilize Mike. He was transported to the nearest hospital where doctors worked to treat his injuries. The swordfish's bill had punctured his chest, but miraculously, it had missed his vital organs. Mike's strength and resilience had saved his life. In the days that followed, Mike recovered slowly. He remained in the hospital, surrounded by his family and friends. The fishing community rallied around him, offering support and sharing stories of their own encounters with the sea's dangers. Mike was grateful for their kindness and the second chance he had been given. Mike's experience became a part of the local fishing lore, a reminder of the unpredictable nature of the ocean. He returned to the water, determined not to let fear hold him back. The tournament had ended in a way he never expected, but he emerged with a deeper appreciation for life and the bonds of friendship that had helped him survive. In the spring of 2006, Anna Collins, a passionate rock climber and adventurer, traveled to the Faroe Islands, a remote archipelago between Iceland and Norway. The date was May 20th and the weather was cool and clear, perfect for climbing. The islands were known for their rugged cliffs, stunning views, and abundant wildlife, including large colonies of seals. Anna had always wanted to scale these cliffs and experience the raw beauty of the landscape. Anna, a 32-year-old from Colorado, had been climbing for over a decade. She loved the thrill of reaching new heights and the sense of peace she found on the rock faces. This trip to the Faroe Islands was a dream come true, a chance to challenge herself in one of the most beautiful places on Earth. She arrived early in the morning, her gear packed and ready for the climb. The cliffs of the Faroe Islands rose sharply from the sea, their jagged edges offering a formidable challenge. Anna chose a route that would take her near a well-known seal colony. She had heard about the seals and was excited to see them up close. She began her ascent, her movements steady and confident. The rock was cold and solid under her hands, and the sound of the waves crashing below added to the exhilaration. As she climbed, Anna took in the breathtaking views. The sea stretched out endlessly, its deep blue waters contrasting with the green cliffs. Birds circled above, their calls echoing off the rock. It was a perfect day, and Anna felt alive and free. She paused occasionally to rest and take photos, documenting her journey for her blog and followers. By midday, Anna had reached a ledge about halfway up the cliff. She decided to take a break and enjoy the view. From her vantage point, she could see the seal colony below, a group of gray and brown bodies lounging on the rocks. The seals were fascinating to watch, their movements graceful and playful. Anna sat on the ledge eating a snack and observing the seals through her binoculars. The Faroe Islands were home to several species of seals, including the common seal and the gray seal. These marine mammals were a common sight along the coastline where they rested and bred. The seals were generally curious and harmless, but like all wild animals, they could be unpredictable, especially during breeding season when the males were more aggressive. Anna noticed a large bull seal near the edge of the colony. He was significantly larger than the others and seemed to be keeping watch over the group. She marveled at his size and strength, unaware that he had also noticed her. The bull seal's protective instincts were triggered, and he began to move towards her position on the ledge. As Anna continued to watch the seals, she suddenly felt a presence behind her. She turned to see the large bull seal climbing onto the ledge. His eyes were fixed on her, and his movements were deliberate and aggressive. Anna's heart raced as she realized she was in danger. The seal perceived her as a threat to his colony and was ready to defend it. The ledge was narrow, with limited space to maneuver. Below was a sheer drop to the rocks and sea. Anna had to think fast. The bull seal lunged at her, its powerful body crashing into her legs. She stumbled, barely keeping her balance. The seal growled, its teeth bared. Anna tried to back away, but there was nowhere to go. The bull seal attacked again, this time striking her with its head. The force knocked Anna to the ground, her back hitting the cold rock. She cried out in pain, her mind racing for a solution. She knew she couldn't fight the seal head-on. Her only chance was to climb higher and reach a safer position. With the seal advancing, Anna scrambled to her feet and grabbed her climbing gear. She quickly hooked her rope to the nearest anchor point and began to ascend. The seal lunged again, catching her leg with its teeth. Anna screamed as the pain shot through her, but she didn't stop. She pulled herself up, the seal's growls echoing in her ears. Blood ran down her leg and her hand shook with fear and exhaustion. She focused on her movements, knowing that one mistake could be fatal. The seal continued to snap at her, but she was now out of its reach. Anna climbed higher, her breaths coming in ragged gasps. She found another ledge and pulled herself onto it, collapsing in relief. From her new position, Anna looked down to see the bull seal still on the lower ledge, growling and pacing. She was safe for now, but her leg was badly injured, and she needed to find help. She took a moment to calm her nerves and assess her situation. Her gear was intact, and she still had her phone, but there was no signal on the cliff. Anna knew she had to keep moving. She couldn't stay on the ledge with her injury. She steeled herself and began to climb again, each movement sending waves of pain through her leg. The climb seemed endless, but she was determined to reach the top. Her thoughts were focused on survival, pushing her past the pain and fear. Finally, after what felt like hours, Anna reached the top of the cliff. She pulled herself over the edge and lay on the ground, breathing heavily. She had made it, but she wasn't out of danger yet. She needed medical attention and had to find a way to signal for help. Using her phone, she managed to send a distress message to the local authorities, including her coordinates. Help arrived within an hour. A rescue team reached Anna, providing first aid and stabilizing her injury. They carefully transported her to a nearby hospital where she received further treatment. The doctors praised her for her bravery and resilience, noting that her quick thinking had likely saved her life. Anna continued to climb and explore, but with a new perspective. She understood the delicate balance between adventure and safety, and she shared her knowledge with others. The Faroe Islands remained a place of beauty and wonder for her, a reminder of both the power and vulnerability of the natural world. In the summer of 2004, Neil Harris, a dedicated wildlife documentarian, embarked on a journey to the wetlands of the Nile River in Egypt. The date was July 22nd, and the sun was scorching hot, casting a golden hue over the vast river and its surrounding vegetation. Neil had always dreamed of capturing the rich biodiversity of this iconic river, and now he was finally here, ready to document the life that thrived along its banks. Neil, a 35-year-old from London, had been filming wildlife for over a decade. His passion for nature and his talent for storytelling had taken him to some of the most remote places on Earth. The Nile River, with its lush wetlands and teeming wildlife, was a perfect subject for his next documentary. He was particularly interested in the Nile crocodile, one of the most formidable predators in the world. Nile crocodiles are known for their size and power. They can grow up to 20 feet in length and weigh over 1,000 pounds. These apex predators are skilled hunters capable of taking down large prey with their powerful jaws. Despite their fearsome reputation, Neil was fascinated by them and eager to capture their behavior on film. On that hot July morning, Neil and his small crew set out from their base camp near the river. They carried their camera equipment, binoculars, and enough supplies to last the day. The wetlands were alive with sounds, birds calling, insects buzzing, and the gentle rustle of the reeds. It was a vibrant, dynamic environment, and Neil was in his element. They reached a spot along the riverbank that offered a clear view of the water and the surrounding vegetation. Neil set up his camera, adjusting the focus to capture the scene. He was hoping to film a crocodile basking in the sun or gliding silently through the water. The crew worked quietly, aware of the need to avoid disturbing the wildlife. Hours passed as Neil filmed various aspects of the ecosystem. He captured footage of birds diving for fish, hippos lounging in the shallows, and the occasional splash of a crocodile slipping into the water. It was an exhilarating experience, and Neil was thrilled with the results so far. In the late afternoon, as the light began to soften, Neil decided to move to a different location for a better angle. He carefully made his way along the riverbank, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of movement. He was so focused on his task that he didn't notice the hidden nest of Nile crocodiles just a few feet away. As Neil adjusted his camera, he accidentally stepped too close to the nest. The protective mother crocodile, sensing a threat to her eggs, sprang into action. With lightning speed, she charged at Neil, her massive jaws snapping open and closed with terrifying force. Neil's heart pounded as he realized the danger he was in. The mother crocodile was closing in fast, her eyes locked on him with deadly intent. He had nowhere to run, and only seconds to react. He abandoned his camera and began to back away slowly, trying to put some distance between himself and the enraged reptile. The riverbank was uneven and treacherous, making it difficult for Neil to move quickly. He stumbled over roots and rocks, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The crocodile lunged at him, her jaws snapping shut inches from his leg. Neil felt a surge of adrenaline as he scrambled to avoid her. With the river on one side and dense vegetation on the other, Neil's options were limited. He spotted his boat a short distance away, tied to a small dock. If he could reach it, he might have a chance to escape. The crocodile, undeterred, continued her relentless pursuit, her powerful tail propelling her forward. Neil's mind raced as he navigated the narrow path. He knew that one wrong move could be fatal. The crocodile lunged again, her teeth grazing his arm. Pain shot through him, but he pushed it aside, focused on survival. He could hear the water churning behind him, a reminder of the predator that was just steps away. Finally, Neil reached the dock. He leaped onto it, his legs shaking with exhaustion. The crocodile slammed into the wooden structure, her weight causing it to creak and splinter. Neil untied the boat with trembling hands and pushed off from the dock, praying that the old engine would start. The boat's engine roared to life, and Neil steered it away from the riverbank. The crocodile, unwilling to give up, swam after the boat, her eyes glinting with determination. Neil increased the speed, the boat cutting through the water as he put distance between himself and the furious reptile. Once he was safely out of reach, Neil allowed himself to breathe. His arm throbbed with pain, and he knew he needed medical attention. He radioed his crew, who had been filming from a different location, and they quickly arranged for help. Neil guided the boat back to the base camp, where his crew met him with worried expressions. They helped him ashore and treated his wounds as best they could. The bite was deep, but he was lucky that it hadn't been worse. They quickly transported him to the nearest medical facility, where doctors cleaned and stitched the wound. Neil was exhausted but relieved to be alive. In the days that followed, Neil's encounter with the crocodile became the talk of the camp. His footage, though incomplete, provided a powerful story of survival and the raw power of nature. Neil reflected on his experience, understanding more deeply the risks involved in his work. In the summer of 2009, marine biologist Dr. Olivia Clark embarked on an expedition to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. The date was September 15th, and the mission was to explore an underwater cave system to study rare coral species. Olivia, a dedicated scientist with a passion for marine life, had spent years researching coral reefs. This expedition was a dream come true, offering a chance to make significant discoveries. The Great Barrier Reef, renowned for its biodiversity, stretched out beneath the waves, a vibrant underwater world teeming with life. Olivia and her dive team, consisting of her colleagues Dr. Liam Bennett and technician Sam Reynolds, were based on a research vessel anchored near the reef. The weather was perfect, with calm seas and clear skies, ideal conditions for diving. Olivia, 34, from Sydney, had prepared meticulously for this dive. She checked her gear, reviewed the cave maps, and briefed her team on the plan. They were to enter the cave system, document the coral species, and collect samples for further study. The caves were known to be narrow and complex, requiring careful navigation. Olivia felt a mix of excitement and anticipation as she slipped into her wetsuit and prepared for the dive. The team entered the water, their dive lights cutting through the clear blue depths. The reef was alive with color, with schools of fish darting among the corals. Olivia led the way, her heart racing with the thrill of discovery. They reached the entrance to the cave system, a dark opening in the reef wall, and paused to ensure everyone was ready. As they entered the cave, the light dimmed, and the walls closed in around them. The narrow passages twisted and turned, creating a labyrinthine environment. Olivia moved carefully, her eyes scanning the walls for signs of rare corals. She spotted several species, their delicate forms illuminated by her dive light. She signaled to Liam and Sam to document and collect samples. The cave was a world unto itself, filled with hidden wonders. Olivia marveled at the beauty and complexity of the corals, each one a vital part of the reef ecosystem. They progressed deeper into the cave, their movements slow and deliberate. The silence was profound, broken only by the sound of their breathing and the occasional crackle of marine life. Suddenly, Olivia noticed a movement in a crevice to her left. She turned her light towards it and saw a sea snake coiled in the narrow space. Sea snakes, common in the region, are known for their potent venom. They are usually shy and avoid humans, but this one had been disturbed by their presence. Before Olivia could react, the snake struck, sinking its fangs into her leg. A sharp pain shot through Olivia's leg, and she instinctively pulled away. She signaled frantically to Liam and Sam, who were ahead of her, unaware of the danger. The venom spread quickly, a burning sensation that made her leg feel heavy and numb. Fear gripped her as she realized the severity of the situation. They were deep inside the cave, far from the safety of the surface. Olivia's mind raced as she tried to stay calm. She knew the venom was spreading and her strength would soon fade. She signaled to Liam and Sam, who turned and saw her distress. Understanding the urgency, they moved quickly to help her. Olivia pointed to her leg, and they saw the telltale marks of the sea snake bite. They had to get her out of the cave and back to the surface as quickly as possible. The narrow passages that had seemed fascinating now felt like a trap. Olivia's vision blurred as the venom took its toll. She relied on Liam and Sam to guide her, their dive lights leading the way. Each movement was painful, but she forced herself to keep going. The thought of her family and her love for the ocean gave her strength. They navigated the twists and turns of the cave, the journey back seeming endless. Olivia's breathing grew labored, and she felt herself slipping in and out of consciousness. Liam and Sam stayed close, encouraging her with their presence. They knew time was running out and moved as quickly as the confined space allowed. Finally, they reached the cave entrance. The bright light of the open water was a beacon of hope. Olivia's movements were sluggish, her body heavy with fatigue. Liam and Sam each took one of her arms, helping her swim towards the surface. The ascent felt agonizingly slow, but the sight of their research vessel above spurred them on. As they broke the surface, Olivia gasped for air, the pain in her leg almost unbearable. The crew on the research vessel had seen their distress signals and were ready to assist. They pulled Olivia on board and administered first aid, working quickly to stabilize her. The venom's effects were severe, but they had reached her in time. Olivia was airlifted to the nearest hospital, where doctors treated her for the bite. She was given anti-venom and monitored closely. The recovery was slow, but Olivia's determination never wavered. She knew she had been lucky to survive and was grateful for the quick actions of her team. In the days that followed, Olivia reflected on her experience. The sea snake attack had been a stark reminder of the dangers that came with her work. Her team continued their research, driven by Olivia's example of courage and resilience. They shared their findings with the scientific community, contributing valuable knowledge about the coral species and the intricate ecosystem of the Great Barrier Reef. The Coral Cave expedition became a pivotal moment in Olivia's career, a testament to her passion and the unpredictable nature of the ocean. She continued to explore and document the wonders of the sea, each dive a blend of excitement and caution.